Coming to you live from our headquarters in Tehran. Many thanks for joining us this hour. The United Nations Children's Fund is warning that the Saudi war in Yemen is taking its toll on children, with as many as 10 million children facing pain and suffering. UNICEF says the ongoing attacks on Yemen are exposing children and their families to a deadly combination of violence, disease, and deprivation. It says the UN has confirmed that nearly 750 children have been killed and over 11 others injured since Riyadh unleashed its offensive in March last year. The UN body added that children make up at least half of the 2.3 million people who have been displaced due to the war. Let's speak to Max Igan. He's a radio host and political commentator, and he joins us via Skype from Brisbane. Many thanks for joining us here on PrezzTV, Mr. Igan. Now, looking at the numbers, they are staggering, and yet Saudi Arabia's relentless aggression continues. It started at the end of March 2015. We are in 2016 now, and no solution.
Well, this is just another typical example of the flagrant human rights abuses that this state continues to carry out, all with Western support. It should be noted that all the bombs that are being dropped on Yemen, or most of the bombs, at least $8 billion worth of them, come from England. So that's who's overseeing this operation. England's actually in there at the moment, apparently to make sure that the Saudis don't carry out any human rights abuses against the Yemenis. And yet this entire war has been an affront against human rights. It's absolutely horrendous, the situation that's going on there. The Yemenis people have no way of really defending themselves from this constant bombardment, especially when the Saudis are being supplied with weapons by the West all the time. Yemen is the poorest country in the region. It's absolutely horrendous. And the United Nations can sit there and say it can condemn it all it wants, but it continues to support this sort of stuff. It continues to support the nations who are supporting giving the Saudis these weapons to do this. So it's just double speak. It's speaking with a forked tongue. It's absolutely ridiculous. The United Nations is showing itself up to be in flagrant abuse of human rights itself by simply not doing anything about this. I mean, the situation has to be brought under control, but, are we going to see any sort of remedy coming from these bodies like the United Nations? Again, it's got to come from Western people becoming aware of the situation and becoming aware of what our governments are supporting and funding and supplying weapons for, and taking action here ourselves by reining these people and withdrawing support from the governments that we have in Western countries that are supporting this. That's what I think the solution lies. I think it lies there.
Right, so Mr. Igan, how many more children are we going to see killed or displaced, or their houses destroyed, or orphaned, or maimed before the world actually takes heed of the suffering that's happening over there?
Well, the world just seems to be immune to it. I think we get fed so much of it on our media and on our news and in movies and all the sorts of stuff that we're fed that people just become desensitized to it. I mean, the world is in a very, very precarious situation where we're about to see what may possibly be even an escalation of this type of activity due to the actions of the United States and its allies, the sanctions and the things they're pushing against Iraq and against Iran, and due to the actions of the state of Israel. Israel's been flexing the sabre at Iran for years and years. They are trying to escalate this, not reduce it at all, and that is the problem. So it's got to come down to awareness of the people. We have to start being aware in Western countries of what our governments are supporting and remove support from these people, and realise that we have a criminal element that has infiltrated all governments around the world, well, most governments around the world, that is carrying out these crimes against humanity. And we've got to start calling it, and we've got to start creating initiatives on the ground ourselves that are going to deal with this problem ourselves and rein these out-of-control governments in. Otherwise, we're just going to see it's just going to get worse and worse. The damage is just going to get through the roof if the people of the world don't wake up and start calling it out.
All right, let's leave it there for now. That's Max Igan. He's a radio host and political commentator speaking to us from Brisbane via Skype. Mr. Igan, thank you very much indeed for your comments here on PrezzTV, as always.